Okay, everybody. Here's our intro. For as long as we have lived near the sea and sailed the waters, strange machines that easily slip the barrier between sun and liquid have captivated us. Accounts go back to our earliest recorded history, tales of saucers that dip below the swell of choppy surf, stories from those who have been whisked away in the dead of night to awaken in a pitch blue world surrounded by beings unlike our human family. We're still wrestling with the question of what's happening in our oceans. In the first congressional hearing to discuss unidentified aerial phenomena since the 60s, defense officials refused to answer when asked about underwater UAPs. Today, we're setting sail on a journey with Debbie Ziegelmeyer, a lighthouse in the vast and mysterious world of UFO research. Debbie's adventures began in 2000 when she joined MUFON, and since then, her quest for understanding has taken her from the skies above to the enigmatic depths below. Her roles have since expanded to include MUFON Star Team Investigator, Missouri State Director, member of the MUFON Business Board of Directors, and the Functional Director of Underwater Research and Recovery. Not stopping there, Debbie also contributes her expertise as a member of the Mars team, serves as a benefactor, co-founded the MUFON Dive Team, and shares her skills as a PADI instructor, all while running a small business in Imperial, Missouri. Her contributions to the field have not gone unnoticed, with Debbie making her mark through various podcasts, conferences, and TV appearances. Debbie's first book, The Alien Colonization of Earth's Waterways, a reference guide to UFO/USO water-related activity, is a compelling exploration of underwater UFO sightings and evidence of non-human intelligence activity beneath our oceans. She has also authored, along with Margie Kay, the 50th anniversary of the Southeast Missouri Ozarks UFO flap. So, grab your snorkels and your curiosity. Who knew the secrets of the universe could be hiding just below the surface? Let's dive in and find out together.
Hi, thank you for having me on.
Oh, thanks, Debbie. I'm so happy that you're here and speaking with us about your research and your work in MUFON and your interest in the whole UFO phenomenon. How'd you get started?
Oh, gosh, with a lot of different ways. I got started investigating or in the interest of UFOs. I grew up in Safford, Arizona, which is just, a few miles north of Mexico. So way down in Graham County, where I had a really brilliant sky to look at. I got started with water, which is kind of funny because I was afraid of the water. But my son and my husband in 2000 decided they wanted to learn to scuba dive, and they had so much fun. They decided to include me.
Wow.
And I was just such a terrible diver that that I just kept diving more and more, trying to get comfortable in the water because I was actually afraid of the water. And before I knew it, I had qualified, the beginning steps to become an instructor. And so my son-in-law and I did that together, and one led to another. When you're in the water, you spend that much time, especially when you're taking all those classes, you start to think more about what's going on in the water. And every time I'd see a UFO sighting, I would be drawn to the water ones, things over the water. I mean, it's very beautiful underwater, but very mysterious as well, because you can't see from the surface what you've got. So that's kind of, and then with MUFON, I mean, I just, all one kind of led into the other. I started going to conferences, and before I knew it, it was one of those things where, I became a state director because I missed the meeting and no one else wanted to do it. you know.
Yeah, I know exactly the feeling. That's why I started my group, because nobody was doing it, was doing it, in a way that really gathered community, so people could meet each other who are interested in the phenomenon, talk about it. It's important.
Right. And before you
Yeah,
know it, you know that one thing leads to another, and here you are.
that's right. That's right. Oh, that's fantastic. So what was your first interest in UFOs? Did it arise out of your experiences diving, or did you have your own UFO experience?
My first interest, probably as a child, because there wasn't a lot to do in Safford, Arizona. So I had a science teacher who was interested in astronomy, and he would take his telescope on the weekends and have us meet him at the football field, and we would look at the stars. You know, this is long before lasers pointing her up or anything. So he got me interested in astronomy, and there was just such a vast amount of stars
Wow.
visible where I
Yeah.
lived. It was just a little town at the time. And from there, well, then we had all the TV shows, you know, Lost in Space, Star Trek, and,
Right,
you know, it
right.
went on and on. And that was kind of the thing to do. So I guess my science teacher, you know, in school was the one that got me looking up at the sky and, you know, and then it's one of those things. I joined MUFON and they asked me why, and I said I wanted to know more. And now I'm
Right.
kind of sorry I asked. There, there is so much going on. I'm overwhelmed.
There absolutely is. And Missouri is a real hotspot, I think, for UFO
Oh,
activity. There's been an incredible amount of sightings over decades. What are some of the highlights of things that you've investigated as a MUFON investigator?
oh, here in Missouri, oh my gosh. Well, Piedmont, last year we had our 50th anniversary of the 1973 sightings. It started out with Reggie Bone, the basketball player, basketball coach from Piedmont, and five of his basketball players. They were coming back from a game in Essex, and they saw a craft hovering over a field. It's kind of the
Wow.
short story of it, but it ended up a couple hundred people that same night saw this, and it went on to where Harley Rutledge from Southeast Missouri State, from Cape Girardeau
Right.
University, professor at university, he came over and investigated, and he thought, okay, well, he got a couple weeks of funding from the college, and the first night he was set up in April of 73, he had a sighting. And so they went back. Well, that couple weeks funding ended up going all the way into 1973 to 1980. They
Oh,
had
that's a lot.
just, I
Wow.
mean, and there was just so many sightings. In fact, that's where I'm headed in April. They're having a big festival there. There's so many sightings that we're lucky enough here where I am. The total eclipse of the sun's gonna go right over the top of us.
Oh, you're so
I
lucky. We're
know.
only getting a partial here in New
Oh,
Mexico.
we're getting it all. Piedmont's going to have a great big festival with oh gosh, speakers down there. I'll be down there, and a light parade. Last year,
Wow.
after the parade, we went to the drive-in movie theater, and they showed Close Encounters.
Oh,
And
that's fun.
the interesting part about the movie theater was back in the day, back in the 1970s, people used to see, they'd be there at the movie theater and somebody would holler, turn off the projector, they're back, and they would run in and tell the projectionist to turn it off, and they would watch strange lights in the sky.
Ah, that's
And so to be able,
incredible.
well, to go back and visit that, and then just about 8 miles away is Clearwater Lake, which is known a month after Reggie Bone and the basketball player sightings. There were two other ladies, Kathy Leach and Kathy Leach and let's see, Kathy Coleman and so Gene Coleman, Kathy Leach. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you for your patience. My head is Gene Coleman, Kathy Leach. They were going over the Clearwater Dam, and there was a large craft hovering over the water. We're
That's
still getting
incredible.
sightings, of that lake with them craft, hovering over, lights coming in and out, lights hovering over
Wow.
the top. So that area is very active. It's so active. August of last year, Missouri legislation um, voted for it to officially be the UFO capital of the state of Missouri. Piedmont is.
Oh, that's exciting.
But here currently we're investigating sightings. We've got a place called Marley Woods that they've been investigating, the team
Yes.
down there since 1998. I've been investigating the St. Clair, Missouri and Merrimack River area, my team and I, since 2018. Since 2011, Margie Kay, the Missouri Assistant State Director, MUFON Assistant State Director of the Kansas City area, has been investigating a strange light in that area. We're on opposite ends of the state. I'm near St. Louis. She's by Kansas City. The light's been recorded by the news media down there, by several people. It's out so much, this strange light just appears and then disappears. They've named it Bob.
Bob! I love that.
We've got 3 very, very hot areas here.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
So 4.
Yeah. So do people organize Skywatch parties to go out and try to capture the phenomenon?
We do a couple times a year. We have parties. We have sky parties. There's one, I believe, every year. We have it in June. Okay. And Margie Kay, she has Onyx Network. So you could look to Onyx Network or also go to MissouriMUFON.org and check and find out when it is, because we try and get people nationwide to go out on that day and take a look at the sky. Last year, when I was involved in it, she had a lady. I was sitting in French Village at our lake lot down there where I go diving with my sister, and there was a gal that joined our group from Australia. So,
wow.
We had a pretty great, Margie organized a pretty great Skywatch. We had them from everywhere.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. So how many sightings have you had, or like general idea of types of sightings or number of sightings that you've had that involved UFOs coming in or out of the water in Missouri? Is that a popular location, do you think, for that kind of USO activity?
Yes. I can start with Missouri. We have the Mississippi River.
Yes.
That's had, in the last couple years, several sightings of what looked like a tic tac. 2 of them have been reported by police officers in the area who actually saw these things that were at least 30-foot long. And they're in by the Jefferson Barracks Bridge. Both of the officers happened to be, one was parked at a light, another one was in a gas station parking lot.
That's fascinating.
Lights that are hovering above and right on the shoreline in St. Clair, Missouri, where I'm investigating. Blue Springs Lake. They have a lot of things coming in and out of the water there. Of course, we've got Clearwater Lake by Piedmont. Right. The major rivers. I investigate the Merrimack. I have some other investigators that have been looking at the Mississippi, and Margie's takes a look at the Missouri River. So we have 3 big rivers. We also I've had an ocean sighting. I don't know if you looked at my book, you probably saw it in there.
I did. I have Debbie's book. I highly recommend that everyone go out and get this book right away. It's fantastic. It is like a compendium of all of these underwater UFO cases throughout the years, and it goes by dates, and it has eyewitness accounts, all kinds of background on different kinds of sightings. And the sightings, there's a wide variety of different types of craft and sightings. It's fantastic. A++.
Oh, thank you. I started out to write a little book about UFO sightings. In my very first book, I ended up writing a reference book. There was so much, and I thought it was important to put as much as I could in there. At one point, I just had to stop, but I found ship logs of sightings. My sighting was odd. It was 2006. January 25th of 2006, I was on a Royal Caribbean cruise ship, and I went diving in St. Martin. And so everybody else, when they got back onto the ship, well, they went in and they showered and they were getting ready for dinner. Now, when you go on a cruise ship now, you can have your dinner at various times. But back then in 2006, it had to be the 6:30 or the 8:30 dinner.
Okay.
So we always picked the 8:30 dinner, and that way it gave us a little bit of time. Well, I was diving in St. Martin. So when I got back on the ship a little bit early at, like 4:30, the rest of the group was out there. I went in and took a shower and was there waiting to take pictures as the ship left shore because I hadn't got to see St. Martin. It was only my second cruise. Everybody else by then had come in late. They're in showering. The crew was picking up towels and chairs. Everybody's getting ready for dinner that night.
Right.
And as I'm taking pictures, about 20 minutes from St. Martin out to ocean, you really couldn't see much of anything anymore. We were headed to St. Thomas. I started walking toward the bow of the ship to meet up with the people that had finished showering. And I looked off to the right-hand side, and there were these look like saucers about the size of cars off in the distance. And they were like this. They were doing that. And they were doing this. So they're doing this and this at the same time.
Wow. So they're kind of like spinning horizontally, but then with a wobble.
Well, I thought maybe, I don't know, they were wobbling, but then they were also doing, and they were maybe 10 to 15 feet, I guess, over the water. And as I looked, I thought, what is that? And my first reaction was to turn around behind me and look and see what was reflecting from the ship onto the water.
Right.
And when I looked back, the ship was leaving them behind. I went, oh no. And
yeah,
so
it's not running. A reflection. If
No. I got one good picture. There wasn't, there's plexiglass below me, but I had an open view, and I leaned over the railing and steadied my arms and got one good picture. And then I took off running because I'm losing them behind. This ship is booking it. And I got another fuzzy picture through plexiglass, so it wasn't all that good. And I asked everybody I could find, crew. They wouldn't let me talk to the captain. Trying to find out. And I said, well, do you have maybe... do you do that for the tourist? Are you hovering something over the remote control? And they said, no. And they said, we're not allowed to throw anything. We're not allowed to do anything over the ship. And I said, well, they were too high up to be any kind of a submarine. Maybe they were reflecting off of an underwater submarine. He said, no, the water's really deep there. And it was, the tourist submarines don't come out this far. Nobody knew anything. Well, when I got back home and I started copying my pictures off of the little scan disc, the dates were all set from that moment on, February 5th. So it moved from January 25th to February 5th, and the time was off. Every picture from then, I was already home and my pictures were dated.
Wow, that's interesting.
And what was... And so I had this picture and I did as much research. And I think that might have been the beginning of trying to research what was in water. And so I held on to it all those years till my book came out. And I thought, oh, I need to put that picture in there and talk about my story of just the oddest thing. And no one believed me. No one, my whole group, no one else saw it but me. But I got a picture in color. And I mean, and I didn't notice in the pictures in the book, but there's another one materializing at the top. It looks like it's in clouds. So what they were either coming up and then going up higher and then maybe getting cloud cover and taking off, or they were in the clouds and then coming down and then clearing up before they wanted water. But it looks like there's one mask in clouds. And I saw that later on. I didn't see it that night. I was too busy.
Right.
But that one, and here I was diving, just,
right,
all day scuba diving. And then it takes for me to leave the ship, to get on the ship, leave the shore, and 20 minutes out in thousands of feet deep ocean water. There they are.
That's so interesting. Do you feel that sighting experience changed you in any way? Did you have any kind of, some people experience some kind of an awakening or a deeper connection?
No, I founded the dive team with Tom Ferrario in 2003. And this was 6. So no, I was already hooked.
There you go.
I just started looking more at ocean, gathering up ship logs, that type of thing, looking at the Caribbean icon. And actually one of the first things I did was contact Jorge Martin. He's the lead investigator in Puerto Rico.
Okay.
And I bought his book, and his phone number happened to be in it. I thought, oh, it's just a contact phone number. I called Puerto Rico, and he answered the phone. I thought, oh my gosh. And we spoke for, a couple hours. He was just the nicest gentleman. he sent me over pictures from his website and told me I could use them in my presentations. So
Oh,
very,
that's
very
awesome.
very nice gentleman, very knowledgeable, and a lot going on in Puerto Rico. He thinks there's an underwater base right there in Puerto Rico, and you can go to his website, and it's Jorge Martin Puerto Rico, or just Puerto Rico UFOs, and he'll come up. But very interesting things. They have a lot of
Yeah.
chupacabra.
Oh, chupacabra.
Oh,
Yeah, we've had
oh, that
sightings of
area.
those here in New Mexico, in fact.
Oh yeah, they're
Yeah.
there in Puerto Rico. There's a lot of really
Wow.
strange. I started researching that strange creatures in Puerto Rico. They have an
Yeah,
extraterrestrial highway in Puerto Rico.
they do.
Yes, when in fact, I'm going on a cruise again, and that's one of our stops. It'll be in September. But when I was out there, I stayed for, I think it was 3 days before a cruise, a different time. And we asked a taxi cab driver to take us out, and so we could take a picture of the sign. He
Right.
said the round trip would be $300. And I said, yeah, I'll go online and get a picture of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, $300. Well, it was a $300 taxi ride.
So does that highway follow like an area where there's sightings and
Apparently that sign is on a highway where there are a lot of sightings.
okay, that's interesting. So in your diving, have you been diving looking for any kinds of evidence of underwater activity or underwater bases?
Yes, here I've been diving in lakes looking around. I've had a few
Right.
investigations where I just go in there, look around, can't see a whole lot. I'd like to set up a trip with Chris Stiles. He's and he's wrote the book. Oh gosh, sorry, Chris, I can't remember the name of his book, but he's the lead investigator for Shag Harbor.
Oh,
And
Shag Harbor,
oh
right.
my gosh, yeah. And I was a speaker for them a couple years ago. We went right to the sites, and which was so exciting because the Coast Guard came out when they saw the tour bus get there. The Coast Guard came from just nowhere, started doing a big circle right around where the craft had entered the water. So I thought, how great of them. But I'd like to go diving there. From what I understand, it's about
Yes.
55 feet deep is all. The water's
Oh, that's
cold.
not very deep. Yeah, I'm
No,
sure it's
no.
cold.
And the water's cold, but I've also been diving in Alaska. I did
Okay.
a oh gosh, a show for let's see. I was on Alaska Triangle, and I went to Alaska, and they had me diving. I'd like to take a look around in Prince William Harbor. There's Prince William Sound. Prince William Sound. There's a lot going on there. A lot of things. I started looking online, and there was just seemed like a lot of odd things underwater. A lot of ships.
Right.
A lot of ships have sunk. I mapped it all out one time, but a lot of them. But I'd like to take a look around in that area too. And I think the water was in the mid 40s at the time. They had me in a dry suit, all weighted down. I felt like Gumby. And I did get to go diving in Alaska. We took a look around, but a lot of times things are so deep. And then when you
Right.
get into the water like that too, it's deep and it's dark. And even with metal detectors, it's really hard to find something. But what I'd like to do is go into the Caribbean out in the ocean at night and just go down maybe 20, 30 feet and look and see if I can see something glowing deep.
Right, right. And isn't there a limit to I've never gone on a dive before, but isn't there like a limit to what a human diver can attain as far as depth?
Recreational divers. I'm a recreational dive instructor. It's 130 feet.
Okay.
And I've just by default, by accident, been down probably about 142,
Mm.
145. Well, I went on a dive in Cozumel, and we came out of a cave at Punta Sur. We came out of a cave at about 130 feet. And then while we're waiting for everybody else to come out, we were drifting, and then we'd have to go back up. And
Right.
so, yeah, my arm was like at 100, and my gauge was 142, but my feet were probably, few feet deeper. And then, our safety stop was a little bit longer. We had to wait an extra 12 minutes because of the depth we came up in levels, but about
Right.
130 feet. And that's the beauty of the water and hiding. There's things that our deepest trench is 7 miles in Mariana Trench. Most of the
Right.
trenches they average about 2 miles deep. And for people who don't know what a trench is, you have tectonic plates. The trenches are the gaps in between the Earth's tectonic plates. And so they go down very, very deep. You could if you want to build or put a craft or something down there, you can wedge something, you could stay down there. I mean, they're pretty wide. But at depth, oh gosh, you can go several miles. Our submarines can. Well, look what happened to the Titan. That was
Right.
only
Right.
two and
Right.
a half
That was a
miles.
tragedy. Right.
Oh my gosh, only 2.5 miles to the Titanic. Can you imagine going down 7 miles? We had
I
difficulty
can't
at sea.
even imagine. And so, we don't even have like the technology to continue to explore the bottom of the ocean floor at some of these depths. It's kind of hit or miss what you can capture. So that would be a good place for a civilization to hide.
Oh, absolutely. And even if you're down a mile, if someone's down 5 miles, you're
Right.
probably not going to see anything. I had one of the people that I did some research, and there was someone that was taken off of the coast of California, Southern California, and ended up in a base underwater. And then she said that she was told that they have a camouflage around that
Oh,
fish, that vessels, that the area is camouflaged so you can't see it. And it's at depth, so it's deep enough to where nobody's going down there, but you can't even look down and see it because it's camouflaged.
oh,
I
interesting.
guess
Very
so.
interesting.
So you know, uh, yeah, what we're doing here is we think that they're traveling around. They're traveling through our caves. We're the cave
Okay.
state in Missouri. We think through our caves and our waterways, and where we're trying to catch them is the gap in between. And
Right.
some of the ones we're researching now, we know that there's a reservoir. Then we know that they're trying to make their way to the river where they're going to go in and go through 14, 18, 20 miles of cave. And we've caught them a few coming across. And one of the more interesting was we were off of Interstate 44, and this has been like 3 years ago or so. Interstate 44 on a January 5th, watched these balls of light, and they were coming low across Interstate 44. And we picked them up because we have military grade night vision.
Oh,
So we can pick
nice.
up a light spectrum that you can't see very well with your eyes. And especially if you're on the interstate, there's the glow of the headlights. You're not seeing balls of light going over the top of you. When we watched
Right.
it come across, we were staged on Route 66, and it came across 66, went halfway up through woods, the trees without leaves because it's January.
Right.
So halfway through the trees, these balls of light were coming through. Then they're going up into the air, and then one of them came over the top of us and it cupped and started doing that.
Oh,
And then
interesting.
it turned again to solid ball of white light and went off into the distance. And we had a couple of them, one briefly, and the second one, I've got it pretty long on video. As it got altitude, maybe 1,000 feet altitude,
Yeah.
all of a sudden it turned on a green and a red FAA light as it's going
Really?
away. And it,
As a
it
camouflage, do you think? As like a
oh, sure, because
measure? Yeah.
it's this light at altitude.
Right.
So maybe, I don't know, for our benefit, maybe for somebody else's. The
Right.
mistake they made was it's going away from us. And the light on the left was green, the one on the right was red. Now, it was either upside down or flying backward because going away, it should be red and green. It was green and red, and we have it on video in color.
Oh, that is so funny.
And the same thing was picked up in, I believe it was May of 1973 by Harley Rutledge at Farmington Airport when he was investigating Piedmont, Missouri, and
Right.
they were taking pictures, and they had the same thing happen, and it's in Harley Rutledge's book, and they got a picture, but it's in black and white. And so it
Oh.
took almost 50 years later, we were able to observe the same type of activity, and we have it on color video. So
Wow.
that's one of our more exciting investigations, because how do you even explain that?
How do you explain it? What do you think they're doing? What do you think they're up to?
In this area,
Yeah.
traveling around,
Yeah.
um, I think they're going in the water for one to hide, for another maybe they're harvesting our hydrogen.
Could be.
They in the air, they can get all the oxygen they want. They might be
Right.
going after our hydrogen in the water. They're doing whatever. I guess different races probably have different agendas.
I think that that's the case. Yeah, there's so
Right.
different, many different kinds of, non-human intelligence,
Right.
aliens, whatever you want to call them, have been reported. Different kinds of features seem to fly different kinds of ships, act in different kinds of ways, and
Right.
yeah,
And they have different agendas. Some of them may be
right,
residing here, and I absolutely believe that they have been here for long enough. I mean, in my book too, I have a passage from the Bible from
right,
Zechariah that basically describes seeing a tic tac. What was it? I think it was
exactly,
let's see, 20 by 15 cubit or 20 by 10 cubits. They're describing a tic tac, a roll in the sky. So they've been
right,
here for a long time. Some of them are residents, and they're just moving about doing their business, probably taking data.
right.
They're scientists taking data. Other ones are maybe here for something totally different. Maybe they're taking genetic samples. Other ones it may be vegetation.
Right.
Some of them maybe they're just interested in our atmosphere, interested in us just in general. I
On
don't.
vacation, perhaps.
It could be.
You never know. Yeah.
It could be. It could be time travelers coming back
Right.
and they're
Right.
hiding around there. But there's so many different possibilities, and
There
there has
are.
to be so many different agendas that I try and explain to somebody that just look at the traffic in the morning when you're headed to work. You're
Right.
rushing.
Right.
Look at all the cars. Everybody in that car's got a different agenda. They've got a different
Exactly.
day planned out, a different job, even if they have the same job, let's say, as a teacher. The teachers all have a different agenda, even if they teach the same course.
Right.
They're teach so it's impossible to figure out what they're doing, and they may have a different agenda every day, every week.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, we don't know what's going on. And,
Yeah.
it's so easy, I think, because you hear a lot with all of the congressional hearings.
Oh,
There's a propensity for this whole national security agenda to be put forth that it's almost like it's a fear-based thing that we need to be afraid of these things, these other beings, when in reality we've been living with them our entire existence.
right. And I believe it was at the end of 2022, I think it was December of 2022, they decided to focus on water sightings. I thought, oh,
Right, that's
interesting.
right.
Gee, they probably should, since everything that they've released so far from the Navy are
It's the
crap.
Navy, for goodness sakes.
They're coming in and out of the water.
They
They're
are.
hovering over the water. They're chasing them
Right.
across the water. I mean, we had, starting with, that one that was all over the airport in Puerto Rico back a few years
Right.
ago. That's the key. 70% of the earth is covered by water. And then you have a place like Missouri that's full of caves. I mean, we have a lot of great places to hide, but especially the water. 70%
Yeah.
of our earth, and according to NOAA, we have only investigated 5% of our waterways.
That's just incredible. So
Oh, it's
95% of our waterways are completely mysterious to us, unknown.
absolutely, and
Right.
apparently not to them. And then the people that do find out, their memories are erased. So
That's right.
the,
So do you want to tell us a little bit about some of those abduction encounters that you've researched? Because those are so fascinating to me.
oh yes, I
Yeah.
had the one in California that the lady was taken, and she said it was in Southern California. She was taken to a base underwater and told, and then she said it was basically a city, and she was
Wow.
told that people couldn't see it, vessels couldn't see it. Basically, vessels and fish. It was camouflaged to keep away vessels and fish.
Oh,
I
interesting.
I'd had them. Oh gosh, let's see. There was a couple different people that were taken in Southern California. An interesting one was Linda Cortell. Bud Hopkins investigated that.
Right.
She was taken out of her apartment building, a
Right.
12-story window, and taken under the East River. And she doesn't remember. She remembers being taken. She remembers when they went into the water. She said she could see trash going by the windows, But the interesting part was there were people on the other side of the bank. Oh no, they were on the bridge. The other side, that was Pascagoula, but they were on the
Right.
bridge, and they saw her go into they saw the craft go into the water, and then Pascagoula, the craft came up and floated them up into it and went into the water, and there were people on the other side of the river, and there were two people that were getting down. There was also a lady that was in a car, but there were two other people on a dock loading up their fishing vessel, which was,
Yeah.
like a commercial fishing boat.
Right.
And they not only saw the craft and the lights and everything, and the husband had seen the people go up. The wife didn't remember, or saw, the two guys taken.
Wow.
They remember a creature came from underwater, came right up to the dock. And she remembers the creature coming up and then going underwater and not coming back up again. He remembers the two creatures coming up from the end of the dock and grabbing him and him fighting, and that he was
interesting.
underwater. He remembered he had taken underwater, and then he thought he couldn't breathe, and then he could breathe. And then their memories stop. And what's really hard about any of the abductions, and there are plenty of books and plenty of witnesses to where it's a proven fact now, to the point where MUFON does investigate abductions and does have an ERT team that talks to these abductees, the people that are taken. But they remember being taken, and then they remember sometimes they know when they're back, and then sometimes they can remember just as they're put back and see the beings disappear or the portal or whatever, because there's stories about, or not encounters, not stories. There's reports of the room being sparkly blue or sparkly green. Well, they remember that at the beginning, and then being abducted, then coming back, they remember the room changing from the sparkly blue or green back to normal. Under regression, they remember some of what went on. Nobody remembers the trip in between. Nobody remembers the trip from the time they were taken to where they stopped, or when that. And I was saying that before, that is the most important thing if you're going to erase somebody's memory, is the trip back and forth. Because if the person remembers not only being taken, but they remember exactly where they went, and then they leave, they remember leaving there and then coming back, the secret's out. We know where their base is, where their mothership is, where the portal, the wormhole, the opening to the next dimension, whatever it is, whatever form of transportation, or wherever form of, I guess, where they take, whether or not they're being taken to a different dimension even. We know where it is. And so it was very hard, but right now it should be out end of the summer, but I'm working on a third book because I was doing research. I'm going to be speaking on this at the MUFON Symposium in July, which is in Texas, Dallas, Texas. And I started doing the research of what's actually going on underwater. And I came up with, I found a dozen people who either people witnessed them hitting the water, going into the water, or they remember some of what. One of them was interesting. This person remembered being taken, and then they come up and they're going through the air and they go back down and they end up in different oceans, and they're in Europe. And
that's fascinating.
And remember this whole trip like a tour. But it's very rare because, in the deep ocean, I guess if you move somebody around enough, they're not going to remember where they were anyway. They can remember general area, but.
It's so huge. It's the ocean is much larger than all of our land masses put together.
70%. So.
Wow. So have you followed at all Avi Loeb's underwater explorations?
I have been. He spoke by Zoom at the MUFON Symposium last year. and I got interested in that. He was looking for something that came from another universe, isn't it? Another solar system. I'm sorry, another
Right,
solar
right.
system that had gone into the water. I haven't had chance lately to catch up on what he found. I know they were
They found some little
analyzing.
sphericals of some
Right,
sort, and they're working on an analysis, but not a lot of
right.
information has come out on that yet.
Not a lot.
But it's interesting seeing, Harvard scientists get involved now in the underwater UFO search. So,
Right, right.
yeah.
Since then, I mean, Roswell is still going on. I've been there, been on a couple, I've been on actually 3 archaeology digs on the debris field there in Roswell. So that's a little bit
Oh,
easier to search for things. You're in the desert, dry
you're in the
land.
desert. Get a shovel and a metal detector and go to town. You don't have to worry about, your air running out,
No, you just have to worry about
the pressure on your body.
the about the intense heat, the wind,
Yeah. Oh, the wind.
tarantulas, scorpions, snakes. But besides that, it's all good.
I know. Well, as a New Mexican, all those things are just like a piece of cake. But we would.
Oh, I
But
don't. I
I'd
grew up
die
in
in the
Arizona.
humidity in Missouri.
Oh gosh, the humidity here. Oh goodness, it's terrible. I'll tell you, the weather is so odd in Missouri. We have a 50-degree change in temperature from yesterday to today.
Oh,
Yesterday,
wow.
yesterday our high was 82 degrees. We were all sitting outside at a restaurant, a whole group of us, and it dropped 50 degrees overnight. And then right now, I
Wow.
think it's only in the 40s. It was 82 yesterday.
Oh,
Well,
my
the week
gosh.
before we had snow, and a couple of weeks ago it was -4. But then a couple of
Wow.
days ago it was 70. So I mean, you don't know about Missouri, but when summer comes, the humidity, oh goodness, it's in the 80s, 90s. It catches your breath. You just
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then
It
it's really
does.
hard to skywatch. I like to skywatch in the winter because you try to do something in the summertime and you have to wait till maybe 2 in the morning because there's so much humidity. It
Right. Too
takes a
much
while for
moisture
all of
in the
that.
air.
Right.
Right.
It takes a while
Right.
for the sky to clear and you can actually see something.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, we've got a question here from Rose. Here, I'll pop it up there. What is your opinion on the supposed UFO base near Catalina Island,
Oh,
California?
I love Catalina. I spent a week there. Well, actually, at Catalina Island, 2 days there last January, a year ago, January. I have 2 sisters that live in Southern California. Oh, I think there's definitely a base there. There's also that anomaly off of Malibu. And then there were some investigations on
Okay.
that said, well, no, it's a landmass. Oh, no, it's not. We found another one exactly like it on Google Earth off of Japan. And then we tried to go back again, and that one was erased. The one they kind of blurted out the one in Catalina is, too many people have seen it. So
Right, right,
Google Earth is just leaving that one alone. There's definitely
right.
something. In 1992, they had over 200 UFOs, reports of UFOs coming out of the water all day long. 1992, they were seen by military personnel, lifeguards, vacationers, police officers, tourists, locals. These things would come out of the water and hover and then shoot off at a high rate of speed. And there's
Wow.
even there's pictures of them. I think there's might even be one in my book. Um, there's, it's just a mysterious place. Even Weiland, who has a studio out there, I bought one of his pictures. Oh, sorry, Weiland, I don't remember the name of it, but I bought one of his paintings. It's got the swirls on it. Oh, well,
Yeah.
look, there's a picture in the background here, the with the swirls in the sky. And I
Yeah.
asked him at the studio when I got it, and I said, "Has Weiland seen anything?" Well, Weiland has out a book on UFOs now and says it's fiction, but
Right.
my
Right.
sisters have sightings there. I just talked to Earl Gray, the MUFON state director of Southern
Yeah.
California, and he said he had a presentation for us. He zoomed into our meeting last
Yeah.
Wednesday, and the sightings. I mean, he's telling us about balls of light and
Wow.
ship sightings. The Our section director, who lives in the Kansas City area, about 4 hours from me, Kansas City, Missouri area. was in the Navy and they had a sighting 4 days in a row of something that was coming in and out of the water and hovering back when he was in the Navy. So
Oh,
there's
that's incredible.
a lot going on. I've been diving. I've been diving off of Laguna. I've been diving in Catalina. The water's deep. It's very deep. It's hard to see anything. But last January when I was there, I took my night vision video camera and we were on a hotel overlooking the harbor. And the moment I turned on my night vision, and there was kind of glows from the boats there and the houses around. But so I'm doing this and I just barely moved it a little bit. Here comes something that comes like this and then disappears. I thought, oh, wow. It might have been a meteor, which probably was, but what are the odds that you take a night vision camera and you point it out there and in less than a minute you catch something coming down? I was up all night, never caught anything else again. But there is a special out right now. I think it's called The Terror in the Sky. And I'm not sure if it's either on Netflix or it's on Amazon. Very interesting. They had people that set up cameras on Catalina Island and in Laguna. Yeah. And these are millions of dollars in equipment or at least hundreds of thousands, if not $1 million worth of equipment. Cameras are 250,000 for some of these professional cameras. It doesn't take long to hit $1 million. They were triangulating between the two, and they caught some very interesting things. And so, if you get a chance to look at that, they had taped it. I saw the movie. They had taped it in 2011, and when I went there last year, January of 2023, we took the tour and went all the way up to the airport. And there was a gentleman at the gift shop and they were selling Catalina Island, Southern California ocean UFO sightings. Right. And he said, oh, these people from the Travel Channel or someplace, these investigators were back. And I said, back? And he goes, oh, yeah. He said, they just left about 6 weeks ago. And he said, they're back taping, trying to find something else. So apparently there's going to be a part 2. And he kind of.
Okay, that's exciting. I'll have to check that out. I haven't seen that yet. So.
Oh, it's the ending. I don't want to kill the ending, but the ending is great because they do find something and they find something very interesting. So watch it all the way to the end.
Okay, I'm going to.
The ending is great.
So other than Catalina, what are some other hot spots where there might be an underwater base?
Well, Puerto Rico, definitely.
Puerto Rico.
Jorge Martin said, yes, definitely. There's one in Puerto Rico. Solomon Islands, something over there. I think there's some kind of an underwater base in and around Alaska. I know that the Mount, I think it's Mount Hayes there. They've got activity coming in and out.
Yeah.
I don't know why there's 3 HARP stations in a row there in Alaska, but a lot's going on in Alaska. I think there's something going on there. Also, Antarctica.
Right. Antarctica, that's a fascinating place. What do you think's going on down there? There's so many interesting accounts about UFOs, maybe a base under the ice and the snow,
I think
tundra,
so.
Whatever.
There's mysterious, there's places. I've talked to a couple different pilots actually that told me that they're not allowed to fly over a certain area.
Right.
It's just off limits. And one of them said they had to fly over that area. There was a medical problem with somebody on their team. And they saw a giant hole,
really?
Just like a circle, a giant cutout circle with something deep in there.
Wow.
I've also seen a special. It was a special on, one of these documentaries.
Right.
People had seen things going into this hole. I think there's some kind of a base in there, whether or not it's ours and theirs.
Right. It might be a combined base for all we know.
Right. And I believe that's going to be a topic. I need to research that. I've got till July, but I believe that's going to be a topic of a discussion at the MUFON Symposium this summer. I think it's a second weekend of July in Dallas. And I, as a speaker, I'm going to do my presentation, but they said, oh yeah, we'd also like to include you in this. And I thought, oh, okay, I need to find the latest and the greatest of what's going on down there.
Right.
So
well, I'm very excited to hear your talk this July.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to find out. I'm sure there's people that are expertise in that. I found some things back. It was WikiLeaks had some things out of Antarctica that a light, a glow on the ice. They were released back maybe 4 years or 3, 4 years ago, when they had there was a gentleman that was releasing all kinds of things. I can't remember his name. But yeah, I've got a few pictures. Those might even be in the book. I have to look. I've gone, you know, it's in there, and then I'm moving on to, more things. But in my mind, I know all the things that I've researched, and that's probably, I believe that's in there too. But
Yeah.
WikiLeaks has got a few pictures of strange anomalies in and around Antarctica. Japan has a Devil's Triangle, Bermuda Triangle. I talked to
Bermuda
somebody.
Triangle. Right,
Oh,
right.
I talked to someone who's served on a submarine, and a nuclear sub in the Navy, and he said that they were in the Bermuda Triangle, and they had deep in the water, and they had all of a sudden their sonar was out, and their radar and everything was out, all their tracking was out. And he said it was
Wow.
just about 3-4 minutes, but for 3-4 minutes to be deep underwater and be blind
That's very scary.
is very scary. And so we know there's something going on there.
Yeah.
They have a similar triangle called Devil's Triangle right off Japan, and there's sightings there. There's also a Michigan Triangle, Lake Michigan, all the way from the tip
Lake
down.
Michigan.
A
Right.
lot of things there, a lot of sightings, but a lot of mysterious sinking of ships and downing of airplanes. One of the airplanes that lost power, the person who sang "Dock of the Bay," Otis Redding, that's how he died. He was, I believe,
Right.
28. They were coming from a conference, or from a concert, I believe in
Right.
Iowa or Ohio. He was coming across Lake Michigan, and their electronics cut out, and they just went right into a lake in Wisconsin. They were headed into Wisconsin. Also, I mean, we got the Alaska Triangle. A lot of strange things there. I believe there's a base someplace by Alaska, someplace by Puerto Rico, Japan, Solomon Islands, Bermuda Triangle. Goodness, Russia, definitely. I think there's something going on in and around the Baltic Sea. There's things coming in and out of there all the time. There might be smaller little areas where they come in and out of, but the waters in and around Russia are very, very active, especially with beings. They've had reports of seeing 10-foot tall beings swimming underwater for years.
Underwater, 10-foot tall beings.
So one report was
Wow.
at 1,300 feet. Another one were
Wow. 1,300 feet. Wow.
7 military divers that were down doing tech diving practice, and some at 165 feet.
Wow. Were they wearing any kind of clothing or uniforms or gear, scuba gear of some sort?
No,
Or were they?
they're dressed in a silver suit, tight fitting, and they have just a helmet on with some kind of breathing device. No
Oh,
tank or anything, just a helmet and a silvery suit, 10 foot tall.
wow.
The one that happened in that was in the 80s in Russia, Lake Baikal. There were 7 divers, tech divers, our equivalent of Navy SEALs, went underwater in the lake to do training, 165 feet. They
Yeah.
came across 4 10-foot tall alien beings. That now, can you even imagine that? Because it's deep and it's dark, so they have
Right.
flashlights and they're doing this, and then all of a sudden there's these 4 alien beings, 10-foot tall, just hovering in the water, 1 in front, 3 in the back. So they had to make their way. They backed off, made their way to the surface in levels, so they didn't go completely to the surface. It probably took them an hour, 2 hours, depending on how long they'd been down there. It might have, in
Yeah.
stages, no less than an hour, if not more than that, depending on how long they've been down. Safety stops to get to the top. And then they're told to go back under a couple days later and see if they can find them again and catch one, which they did. They went back under, found them again, attempted to throw a net over one of them.
Oh my gosh.
The one in the lead
That's
alien.
kind of inhumane, really.
Well, he put his hand out. But can you even
Yeah.
imagine now? You're going to go down there and you're going to net this creature or this being, and then how are you going to get it to the surface? Are you going to try and do it in
Right.
levels? Can this being survive on the surface? I mean, it's set to decompression down there. It's you can take a fish from
Right.
deep water
Right.
and then you bring it to the surface. This thing's going to blow
Yeah.
up.
That's right.
So they decide they're going to take the creature up, and I don't know if they thought they would hold on to it. Now, how are you going to hold on to this creature while you do your decompression and you get to the surface? I'm sure they had some kind of a plan. Anyway, the creature put its arms straight out, and all seven of them, the Russian divers, all went to the surface. 3 died the moment they got up. They were pretty well decompression sickness. Your blood basically boils. Three of them died immediately. The other 4 they took to decompression chambers. They only had 2. One chamber was working, the other one was not. Put all 4 of them in the one chamber, and only 1 survived. And there was a hearing. And there was a hearing, and they the results were that they weren't going to dive in that lake anymore. It was covered up until you think,
Well, they were asking for it, you've got to admit.
and that it ended up coming out when the Soviet Union, when the Soviet Union broke up, and then you went to Russia. There was a lot of information that was released, and there's a couple really good books from Russian ufologists that verify a lot of this. They've got articles, newspaper articles, and documents, and some great books out there on the UFO sightings in Russia. And they've got some great ones because, like I said, when the Soviet Union, broke up, paper were just, they lost a lot of that, and things were released that should not have been. And we got some really, really great information.
Yeah, that's for sure. So Lana is asking here, the documentary that you were mentioning before that might be on Netflix, is it called A Tear in the Sky?
I think it's called The Tear in the Sky.
The Tear in the Sky. Okay.
Yes. And you could probably put in Tear in the Sky, Catalina Island, and it'll pop up on, you can Google it and it'll pop up.
Yeah.
I saw it. I don't remember. Like I said, I've got Amazon Prime, and I've got Netflix too. So it was on one of those 2.
Okay. I know so many streaming services. It's hard to keep these things.
Oh, I know. Those are like the 2 main ones. It was on one of those. I don't take too many of the other ones because I spend so much time researching that.
Right.
I like the main ones just for the I try and get all the ones that's got really good documentaries.
Exactly. And then we've got a question here from Joe, who's asking, what's going on at the bottom of the Great Barrier Reef?
Ooh, Australia. I don't know. That's the only place I probably don't want to go scuba diving. If it's going to kill you, it's there. They have a little tiny jellyfish, just the size of like a dime, that if it bites you, you're dead in an hour. They've got a spider. If the spider bites you, you're dead in an hour and a half. They have the great whites who eat, they eat humans for sport. There's so many places to go diving that I thought, I know it looks really pretty, but I'd rather go maybe Cuba or, or someplace else. I don't know. I don't do a lot of research of the Great Barrier Reef, but that I don't. Yeah, I avoid that. I don't want to come up on a 20-foot long shark.
Well, that might be. If a lot of people are afraid to dive there, it might be a good place for an alien base.
It probably would be. I know the area, it's pretty, it's diveable, pretty shallow, right around the reef.
Right.
But, except, you get farther out in the water. I'll research and find that out. Thank you. I'll do some research and find out what's going on in that area. That just mentally is a
you might want to research, because Joe is saying, and he knows a lot about some of these things. He says that supposedly there's a confirmed ET and human base there.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
I will. Thank you. I will definitely look into that.
Yeah, there's so many mysterious places and things. So what's coming up next for you? What are you doing next?
Next, you mean physically or mentally, or like where am I headed?
It could be in any way you wish to answer that question. Like what's next on your path?
I'm working on book number 3 it's about water, but it's going to focus on everything that's I found that's underwater. There's underwater sounds in and around Russia. There's the underwater beings. There's people taken underwater. There's reports of the bases underwater. different scientists who have said, I believe that this is here, or military people would say this is here. Submarines that are picking up sounds and motions that have chased things underwater. So I'm focusing on underwater activity. I think I'm going to call it, let's see, deep water. Let's see, deep water aliens and the cover up.
Ooh, that sounds great. I can't
That,
wait to get it and add it to my collection. And
well,
again,
well,
another push here for Debbie's book because it is so good. It is called The Alien Colonization of Earth's Waterways, a reference guide to USO water related activity. And it is a reference guide, but it is something that once you pick it up and start thumbing through, you're going to want to read cover to cover, which is what I did. It has all of these different accounts and cases throughout the body of the book and from all over the world. It's amazing. Just eyewitness accounts. Some are more, police officers, some are regular people. It's an incredible book.
Oh, thank you. I tried to also, I have a chapter just explaining about trenches and what they are and the possibility where
Yes,
base is going to be. And my theory with it
exactly.
is you have to know what is human made, where humans can possibly occupy, where we have bases underwater. Jacques Cousteau, his grandson is still doing that in the Florida Keys. We
Right.
accidentally ran across that one. We had a condo in the Keys for a few years, and we took the boat out and we go, what is that buoy out there? And it was this great big red buoy. So we took the boat and we inched up to this buoy, and it said, please stay stay 500 feet back underwater research facility below. Well, you had to get it right on the buoy before you could read that. And we're like, oh no. So we know where their research center is, but you have to know where we're building underwater, where we have underwater submarine bases and what we
Right.
have before you start speculating that it belongs to us or somebody from some otherworldly being. And then you have to know where the hiding places are and the possibilities of what they may or may not want. So I'm gonna, just because of the research that I've done, I'll probably do one last third book. But
Excellent.
let's see, I'll be speaking at the symposium. I'll be in Piedmont in April. Let's see, May, June. Oh, there's a conference in Arkansas. I'm always there the last weekend of October. They have a charity conference for a charity event for this paranormal conference for the General MacArthur Museum.
Oh, wow.
And literally,
Wonderful. Wonderful.
and it's like $10-15 a day to get in. It's a great conference. If you're in the
That's
Little Rock
fantastic.
area, you should look that up. It's
I'm
really
going to
great.
look this one up.
Speakers.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have speakers on all different subjects, and paranormal. That um, um, Ken. Let's see. What's it, Gephardt? Oh gosh, I'm sorry, Ken. I can't remember his name. But the gentleman that's out there that investigates creatures, and you've seen him on TV. Oh gosh, but anyway, he's always there. Sorry, Ken.
Yeah.
It's been a long, interesting week. A lot of things going on in the area here, and a lot of things going on in ufology, and so my brain's a little rattled today. But
Yeah, well, we really appreciate you spending this time with us, and thank you so much for answering questions and hanging out and talking about underwater UFOs. And where can people follow you and find out more about your research?
I I'm just I don't get I need to get on I have a website. It's debbiediver.com. And also you can look into MissouriMUFON.org. That's our Missouri website. If you want to ask me any more questions, you can email me at mufondiver@gmail.com.
Oh, I love that. That's great.
And I'm kind of pop up here and there. Oh, I'm supposed to be on in April. I'm going to be on Ancient Aliens.
Oh, exciting.
And so that's about all I can say right now because it's not out yet.
Right.
And
Well,
then
we'll
also
all look forward to that.
you can find me on Alaska Triangle. That's been like 4 or 5 years ago, and I had people call me constantly. They just keep rerunning it, I guess. But if you want to look me up, mufondiver@gmail.com, and I'll try and help you. If you're wanting to know about anything that has to do with water, I'll do the best I can to lead you in the right direction.
Well, thank you, Debbie. I really appreciate
Thank you for
you
having
and
me.
your research and for talking with us today. I know that everyone enjoyed this immensely, and it'll be up on our YouTube for anyone who didn't catch it live to watch
Oh,
later.
great. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on. And sorry if I rattled on a little bit, but
No, are you kidding? You're an absolutely wonderful, beautiful guest. You kept everyone riveted. At least I was riveted. I couldn't stop. My
I'm
mind was just
passionate.
like going like crazy,
I'm
picturing all these
passionate
things.
about
And
it.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I
passionate
love
about the
that.
subject, and there's so much out there that there's all this information, and a lot of times I have trouble getting from there to here, but there's so much. Just read whatever you can about water, and there's a lot of books out there. Oh, and if you want to find my books, they're on Amazon.
Yeah, that's right. I got your book on Amazon. Everybody pick up this book, and I'm going to order your book, your 50th anniversary
Oh, thank you.
of the Ozark sightings book, because I enjoyed this one so much. So
Oh,
everybody
thank you.
get Debbie's book and keep your eyes on the skies and on and under the water.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.